How do you know Buddha was enlightened? If somebody wants to be a guru, that person is not a guru. You have to start knocking on the doors. You have to start finding things for yourself. Somebody who wants to manipulate and fool will just play with the perception.
How did you know he's the one?
Something is opening, something is flowering, something is changing in your worldview. Try and look at everything. The truth will start showing. There has to be a selflessness. The three contemporaries, Ramana, Sri Aurobindo and J. Krishnamurti, and three from ancient India was Buddha, Mahavir and Adi Shankaracharya. You meet people who are tuned in with a similar frequency, with similar seeking, searching. The so-called experts, and his core question is, who am I? Do not believe in anybody. Absolutely.
But I think the journey is something you have to walk.
Every night I would sleep in a vehicle, either in a train or bus, and land in a new place every morning. If you want to read a book, will you find a quiet corner or will you go to the vegetable market on the banks of Bhagirathi River? Basically, when things become silence, your inner noise can become very loud. First research was about parapsychology. There's something called as unconscious perception. You come back to the same world, it's not the same. We will be slave to machines. This is how we lived for millions of years. There are people who have hallucinations about themselves.
Today we welcome Dr. S.B. Sunit. He's a double PhD in psychology and philosophy, a leadership coach to many MNCs and Fortune 500 companies. Our guest today is a rare polymath who sits at the intersection of high-stakes corporate strategy. He's a member of Mensa and the author of Eye on Eye, a work exploring the Indian philosophy of self-realization. He received the International Young Scholars Award and was invited to present collaborative research with a Stanford professor at conferences in the United States. He has worked with more than 20,000 professionals across multinationals, many of which are Fortune 500 companies globally, while simultaneously expressing his essence through filmmaking, poetry, and international Afro-Latin dance. Today we explore his unique journey of redirecting lives towards clarity, freedom, and peace. I think I want to start with perceptions. I feel most of us perceive people with the look you carry, and then they judge you with whether you're a spiritual person or not. I want to know your perspective and how people can change this.
This is very interesting. We do get carried away by perception. This is just laziness on people's part. They say don't judge the book by the cover, but the fact is that people do.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate part is that the so-called experts really make use of it, and all they need to do is create a perception of a classic archetype. You need a beard, you need to dress differently, and half of the job is done. But you need to realize that people who give too much importance to perception, about their own perception and how they are appearing for the world, and also people who give too much importance to how people are appearing and judging them by perception, both essentially are telling you that they are at a surface level. They are not willing to look beyond what is just there on the surface. And these are the people who are more gullible. So somebody who wants to manipulate and fool will just play with the perception. Somebody who is going to be fooled is going to be fooled by perception. So the idea is that look at some of the great examples, any real great example in any field, by the way.
Yeah.
It could be any field. It could be a scientist, it could be a spiritual master, an artist. If you look at the real masters, perhaps this is the last thing on their mind. And that authenticity is something that touches us. You look at masters, they were just as they were in the given circumstances. So yes, there could be somebody who is preoccupied with the perception or who gives importance to perception. It doesn't matter. You may or may not, but that is not telling you anything about the essence. So essentially, in the whole life, about anything, the conflict is always about essence and persona. What is there essentially and how it appears. It could be about food.
Yeah.
It could be about people. It could be about anything, a place. Like, what is the essence? So I think all of us, if we keep focusing on the essence, and we can focus on the essence only to the extent we are in touch with our essence. If we are superficial, we're gonna only be able to see the superficiality of things. So don't discard somebody just because he's not appearing well, but also don't discard somebody if that person is paying attention to appearance. Are you getting me?
Yeah.
Oh, you're too superficial. Not necessarily. This is not to do with the essence of the person. So somebody could be very careful about the appearance because of sheer aesthetics. It's not about creating a certain impression.
So then what is that one thing you look for to know the authenticity of a master or a person?
Never look at anything just in a limited way. Try and look at everything, and that will give you the pattern. Typically, we make a mistake, or somebody came and behaved in that particular. We are focusing only on a certain instance. Perhaps that was created just to show you a picture. Look at the pattern. Look at how the person behaves, perhaps when nobody's looking, perhaps when there is no camera, perhaps when this person is not necessarily presenting. How is this person behaving when there are people with apparently much lower social structure or power? How this person behaves in the presence of so-called powerful and wealthy people. Now, if you see the pattern of all this, the truth will start showing.
Yeah, makes sense. But some people say that when they meet a guru, they know that there is a connection. So when you first time, identified your spiritual guide, was it a feeling or was it some kind of analysis? How was it?
Analysis is a fragmentary process. It's impartial, it's incomplete. Just going by one's feeling is also partial. Overall, I would say one thing one notices, for a master especially, there has to be a selflessness. If there is an agenda, if the person wants something from you, it could be material, it could be a quality, it could be surrenders, or anything that person expects you from name, fame, wealth, whatever. That's the first sign that this person needs something. Perhaps it's not yet overflowing with what the person has to offer. So a master, one of my favorite definitions of when I met, and I've been fortunate to come across some really gem of people, masters who are really, really living that quality, and not as something that they have imbibed, but something which has flowered within them. And one such person told me, a guru is essentially a person who has become alone from inside. So can you sense that quality of somebody who has become alone from inside, and who can actually take you to become alone from inside? So this person is not interested in creating a bond, but essentially take you to the essence, because that person is residing in his or her essence. So you can only see to the extent that you have gone deeper inside.
Yeah, it's experiential.
Yes. In order to know anybody, somebody was asking me, as a kid, we all always used to debate about things like, how do you know Buddha was enlightened?
Yeah, this is a question many people.
And then this one monk, he told me, you will only know when you're enlightened.
Yeah, there's no other way.
Until you're enlightened, you are only going by your lenses and your perceptions.
True.
So when somebody tells you, I know he's a great master, you can tell that only to the extent you have achieved something inside you, right? So let's be very humble. it is not we who can judge or who can look at the greatness, but we can see it only to the extent that we have worked on ourselves or something has flowered within us.
Can you share your experience of meeting your guru for the first time? What was the feeling? How did you know he's the one?
I don't go by like this is the guru, because as I said, nobody is big enough, and you again, like, you need to be enlightened to know, right? So these things happen, you don't choose them, and it doesn't have to be, everything doesn't have to be always very romanticized, that something is happening and flowers are not necessarily. It is something that there's a lot of things, like the first time you hear about somebody, for example, something can start happening. Sometimes, many times, something can start happening before you meet somebody.
Yeah, you
The
feel
person
some
comes
pull.
in form much later. First is your preparedness.
Yeah.
First is your thirst, and you are in that frame where you're ready. You must have heard this famous thing, like, a master appears when the disciple is ready.
Yes.
Yeah. So until then, you may meet somebody and nothing may happen, or people do all sorts of things. You project something, and I've seen people living with a great saint, but nothing ever would move, and you would think, my goodness, how is it that possible? But so I think it's a gradual process. If you see naturally how things happen, there are two energies, right? And there's something happening. Something is through your interaction, something is opening, something is flowering, something is changing in your worldview, something is opening up for you. And you need to be on the journey already. You're on the journey, and then you realize that there are certain elements which facilitate that journey, which intensify that journey. Yeah. And it could be anything. It could be a book.
Yeah.
It could be
A video.
a person. Yeah. So that's not important, and it doesn't have to be necessarily one person. People have all sorts of confusions about it. I remember somebody saying, "Oh, I feel very guilty. I already have a guru, and how can I go and meet somebody?"
Yeah.
Because I feel we bring our own nonsense in any field that you go to, right? So there is so much about guru, and then it was very stupid
Yeah.
of when somebody said, "No, one has to do only propaganda for your own guru." And
That's
what is this?
fanaticism.
So this is, you're bringing your mind to anything that you touch, and that's what's going to happen. So let things happen. Be on your journey, be on the path, and right person at the right time will appear, will also disappear. They say guru disappears when
Yes.
you're ready, and then when you're ready, the guru also disappears. He appears and he disappears. So I would say everything, I do think that everything is also destiny, and
Yeah.
you need to have a good fortune. So all one can say is that keep your window open, and it may happen, but don't let your mind take you for a ride, and don't think in terms of a guru or something, because ultimately all these are also images and are projections. But you will realize, is something taking me more inwards? Is something making me more peaceful? Is something making me understand things better? And it is that presence that is working for you. Or sometimes you see an example in a guru. If nothing, just by being around this person, you see an example of how it can be possible to live in a fundamentally different way. And it's very rare to see a human being who is living absolutely in the now and without any botheration about the world or about future or about past. And just that energy, if you can touch it, if you can feel it, that itself is very transformative experience to be able to see that. So I would say I've been fortunate to have met, I would say, not many people. But some people you connect even when you're not seeing them in living body.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
The subtle bodies.
they reach you sometimes. You see it in your intuition. You sometimes may not know. Some things make sense after years.
Yeah.
So all sorts of experiences. Ultimately, it is one energy reflecting through different parameters.
Beautiful. Wow. I mean, you spent a lot of time, I think, reading on Ramana Maharishi,
I,
Sri
I,
Aurobindo. So can you tell us, bits and pieces, like the highlights of
yes,
each of these masters and what you could absorb out of these?
yeah, they're very dear to me. Very,
I'm
very dear
sure.
to me.
I'm sure.
I don't read much. I haven't. People do think based on, oh my goodness, 2 PhDs and this, you must have read a lot. I'm a very selective reader. And spiritually or otherwise also, I read very, very little because I don't think these things are matter of reading. Although reading can trigger things. But ultimately, these are very experiential things. So growing up, right from my teens, what I remember is visiting, for example, Ramana Ashram in South India in Tiruvannamalai a number of times. Many times I've just landed without. The first time I went, I landed there without knowing anything, how anything works. With my backpack, just got down from a bus. I remember late evening. I don't know where I would stay.
Wow.
And I went to the ashram and it's already closed for, office hours are closed, and then looking around where to stay, and something came up and then stayed in the ashram. So my journey with these masters like Ramana is been actually visiting the Ramana ashram in Tiruvannamalai and being in the mountain, being in that energy, the Arunachala, the mountain, being in that energy field. And again, as I said, if you're tuned in, you meet people who are tuned in with a similar frequency, with similar seeking, searching. And this is starting maybe my like late teens, early 20s. This is what we're talking about. And somehow I kept going to the south of India many times and spending time at Ramanashram. So that was the journey of interacting with that energy and letting that meditation. And his core question is, who am I? That is his core message, core teaching. Go within and ask, who am I? What is I? What is it? Who are these things happening to? And you meditate, and certain thing opens up for you. And then few hours from Ramana Maharshi's ashram is Pondicherry and Sri Aurobindo's ashram. And every time I went, every time you go, something opens up for you a little bit. You start seeing things more, you start experimenting yourself more. You hear stories from the people on the journey, and there you see also people's blind spots, and you see a lot of things. As I said, there is no formula. Like, should one make it a curriculum that, I need to visit these places? No. But in your journey, can this happen, that this comes your way, and can it play a role? Certainly, yes. So much so that, as I said, some or other, I would go to present some research paper in a university in South India, and then I would say, I'm going to extend my trip, solo trip. I'll leave my classmates and go to these ashrams and spend some time and really go within. And so Sri Aurobindo is also, it's a universe, it's a world in itself.
Yeah.
Like, how much can we speak about it? And similarly, Krishnamurti. And luckily for some of these people, I could really interact. None of these three people, these three are some of the core contemporary masters that I consider of very high regard, which have shaped and guided the humanity in last few decades. J. Krishnamurti, Ramana Maharshi, Sri Aurobindo. And I was very fortunate to have met people who lived with them, or so hearing stories from them, and to hear about how they guided them, and of course reading them. And all these three people are well documented. And so these were part of my spiritual journey. And later, when it came to, in one of my, again, journeys and inner journeys, one more time I had come back from my deep meditation, come to the society, didn't know what to do. And somebody suggested, why don't you do another PhD? And I actually enrolled for PhD in philosophy. And there were 6 thinkers which I focused upon. So when it came to like somebody suggesting doing a PhD, and my core area, having studied psychology also, it's about self and self-realization. So I said I need to. I anyway grew up with. I always say I grew up with Krishnamurti, Ramana,
Yeah.
and Sri Aurobindo, and then they also became part of my PhD. And then every time I spoke about my PhD, once I'd done, people said, "Oh, can we read about it? You know, this sounds fascinating." So I converted that into a book, and ultimately the book came out, which is of the Eye on
Eye
Eye.
on Eye. I
And
love that title.
I philosophically speaking, I chose 6 very distinct thinkers, 3 from ancient India and 3 from contemporary.
Which
And
are those? So
so
three are we
the
mentioned.
3 contemporary as Ramana, Sri Aurobindo, and J. Krishnamurti, and 3 from ancient India was Buddha, Mahavir, and Adi Shankaracharya. So very distinct philosophy and big influence. And then I said, let's bring all together in one party.
Very
And
interesting.
because I said self is one, and philosophically people have really fought. Buddha said there is no soul, and Shankara said there is no body, and there is only Brahman, and Mahavir said something. And philosophically, for 2,500 years, these philosophies have dominated Indian philosophical scene, and people really fought trying to think this is true, this is not. And I said ultimately, the truth is one, and there could be different ways of looking at it. So that's what my book, and that's how it culminated in the book. But the book or the words or the knowledge or the thoughts are not the real thing. The real thing is
Experience.
absolutely, and these are portals, these are windows for you. Something may strike. So I said, if you're fortunate and these people come your way, dive deeper, take a look and see what it does to you. It may not do anything, but this is essentially what these masters came to this planet, lived, shared their energy, and triggered that kind of thing. So we don't even know how humanity has been truly benefited by these individuals, and it's deep and uncountable number of lives that these people have touched. So
Of course, for
yeah.
sure. In today's time, people refrain from this whole gurudom culture.
Absolutely.
They don't sign up for considering this one person as a master.
If somebody wants to be
So,
a guru, that person is not a guru. The person is already
yeah.
caught into labels and wanting to, has an agenda and wants to do something. Buddha never wrote anything. Mahavir never wrote anything, right? They not necessarily were hell bent on traveling and teaching, and of course they did in their surrounding. Both of them lived in Bihar, and some kings would host them and people would come to them. Buddha, of course, was keen. He formed a sangha. Uh, but essentially they wanted to, they were living their life. They did their own sadhana. They lived their life. And then their presence created a ripple effect. And of course, after centuries, we see that people make dogma out of it, religion out of it, and everything is turned into symbolism. And it's anyway,
Yeah.
different things work for different people, but essentially these teachers were teachers who were very authentic and were not really bothered about creating anything beyond the essential practice for the individual to take you there. Sangha can help, because when like-minded people come together, yeah, there could be a support to each other. But beyond that, it is not meant to be a sect or a religion or something exclusive club, or only people who believe this will attain something. Absolutely not.
So for somebody, who's, let's say, a 20-year-old today, the Gen Z, they are born with a very open mind and a very scientific mind. So what do you have to say to them? Like, what's the right way to look at
Do not
this whole ancient, rich culture? And then again, there's this whole modern way of living.
yeah.
How do you combine the two? And what's the right way for them specifically to
For the
take on
young,
this?
for the young minds, I would suggest, and I would emphasize this: do not believe in anybody. Don't follow anybody. Absolutely not. Question everything, but keep your mind open. Question, but don't suspect everything, because that already shows a bias. Yeah.
Yeah.
Try to go to the essence again, what we started talking about. Go to the essence of the person, what this person might have really meant and spoken. Because when something is very old, let's say 2000 years, you know how much we really dilute things. In
Yeah.
fact, we go away from the essence of
Yeah.
teaching, and we make everything into symbols. We
Yeah.
make everything into, I give often example of Buddha and Mahavir. Mahavir, for example, left everything including clothes. The man is walking naked, right? And here you have a temple where you want to put gold and silver around. Did he care for that? No, but we justify. And I'm sure there is a good justification for these activities. Or Buddha, who lived a very simple life, and we want to give, all the best. You see some decoration of chocolate and everything offered.
Yeah.
These are your things that you liked, So there's a lot of projection
Yeah.
that happens in all these things. So I would suggest, do not fall victim to any system, any tradition. Don't seek security into any false kind of system, or don't believe in anybody who says, believe me because I'm telling you, or do this and you will get something after death, or something, or any promises. Clear your slate of all these things, and you'll find that you achieved the first freedom there itself, where you're willing to look. Because when you stop taking crutches, you have to start looking. You have to start knocking on the doors. You have to start finding things for yourself. And then what you find is yours. It's not a borrowed thing. And then you're not insecure. When you are insecure, and when you're seeking conformity, and when you say, I believe, I belong to this sect, I believe in this kind of things, I believe in this kind of diet, I believe in this kind of deity, I believe that this is what will happen, and I've been told to have faith and do this, you are already feeding into subconsciously your insecurity, because you have nothing of your own. You have just borrowed this thing. Your problems are still there. And now, in order not to feel worse, you hold on even strongly to these things. And then you become dogmatic, you become fanatic, and you become somebody who hates other systems, and you're already lost. Forget about reaching anywhere. You perhaps have become worse than a normal human being who doesn't believe in anything. So keep your moral compass for yourself, keep your mind open, inquire, look. Don't shut anything down, don't shun it, but say that, okay, can I explore this on my own? You presented, you told me that there is a beautiful place. Can I go there and check it out for myself? So start working on yourself, find out for yourself. And that's the best use of your mind. Instead of believing in something blindly, the best use of mind is, can I really understand something? Yeah. And if you can sit with somebody who can help you that journey, well and good, without telling you what. Without telling what, if somebody brings me to this river, I'm more grateful and thankful than somebody who says, believe me, I've seen a river and there's a river. Bring me to here and let me experience it for myself.
Yeah. Taste the sugar.
Absolutely. Yeah. And very beautiful. I was sitting again with a beautiful, beautiful master, and he said something very simple. Somebody was asking about meditation, and he said, can anybody tell anybody how sugar tastes? Is it possible to describe to somebody who has not tasted it? The only way for you to know is somebody can, hey, this is the sugar, taste it, this is how it tastes. Nobody can tell anybody how something.
Yeah.
So same thing, meditation, life, spirit, nobody can tell anybody. But what we can do is, yes, maybe present something that will take that person perhaps to that point where he or she can find it for
more
themselves.
like a guidance, I would say.
Absolutely.
But I think the journey is something you have to walk.
You have to walk, and you can't trust any map, because the people are really ready to sell the maps to you.
Too many maps.
Exactly, And all you will do is that, okay, this is the map I'm going to put my faith in, and then I'm going to prove that this was right, and people live and die with those maps not having moved anywhere, or perhaps become worse.
I think you create a map on the way.
You start
yourself.
Looking. You look, the compass is inside you. Am I becoming more peaceful? Am I becoming more accepting? Am I breathing more easy? Have I become more impatient? That is your radar, that is guiding whether you're moving in the right direction or not.
True.
If you become less patient, if you become more insecure, and if you have to hold on to things, and if you need 10 things now to feel good about yourself, and you need 10 other people to tell you
Yeah.
that you're good and you're great, and this is how people, then they start the journey, and eventually they feel somewhere they know that they're not reaching anywhere, and then they need to gather 10 people around them to tell them that you're somebody just because you walked on this path. But it's all fooling oneself.
Yeah.
So, to the young minds, don't fall into any of these traps, and at the same time, don't close yourself. The world is beautiful to see, and more we spend time with real things like nature, with real human beings, with yourself, you're going to be much more open. Your vibration is going to change. But if you are perpetually lost in the world of audio visual and just always being bombarded by stimulus, there is very little hope that anybody can find anything for themselves. So, real experiences with real things like nature, like being with yourself, like real conversations, these are going to be the doorways which will open up things for you.
I so agree with that. Everything that you said.
Very, very
Yeah, I
important.
think
We
that's the
can't-
way to go.
We can't use crutches, and everybody along the way will try to sell you some crutches. Don't buy anything and yet not be bitter.
Yeah.
I don't want, because that itself becomes another religion. I don't believe in anybody. Don't be that person also. And don't, it's walking on the edge, on a razor edge. I'm not going to disbelieve you and I'm not going to believe you. I don't love you and I don't hate you. Now that's a very difficult space to be in. We are always oscillating between either I like you or I hate you. I believe you or I don't believe
The
you.
neutral
Can
state.
can I look at it without a judgment, without an idea about it, so that it reveals itself to me as it is.
Wow. Let's talk about your Himalayan experiences. You spent a lot of time there,
Sometime.
and it's a beautiful place. We all know it's some kind of a portal where you can feel the transformation. And I would love you to share your personal experiences, what you felt,
Isn't
the
it,
mystery, the everything basically.
Yeah, I think it's.
So,
I think we have, especially I think in India, perhaps there's a fascination for Himalayas in the spiritual world.
yes.
Yeah. Even if you're a trekker, I think there could be a hiker fascination for it. They are something, right?
Of course.
These
yeah.
mountains are something. I never had any romanticized, in spiritual world there's a lot of romanticization of
There
things,
is.
right? I did not have that. But I think how it started was I always knew I would never take a 9 to 5 job. Always knew, was very clear. But somehow I had gotten very curious about how the selection works, and I kept getting selected. I think I might have mentioned sometime to you. But after a few months, I realized I definitely is not something that I'm going to do forever. And if I say, even if I want to, I would do it for many more companies rather than being just with one organization. And I resigned. And there's a big story about my resignation, but they were not accepting my resignation later. So it was a whole drama around it. But anyway, I
I can so
resigned.
believe that.
So when I resigned, and then I said, okay, now what? I'm going to be free. And what is the first thing I want to do? And it was like entire canvas is open in front of me. What is it that I want to do? And different things started popping up. One was going to Japan, and I kind of found out that there is a rice farm in Japan, which is a Zen farm. They say you work for a few hours in the farm, and we'll provide a stay and accommodation. And it's also a Zen farm, so people would be meditating Zen. So I said, okay, that's a possibility.
That sounds perfect.
Then I was interested in some tribal kind of thing and traditional thing. So I found some thing in Kerala, and I was interested. And then I found something in Indonesia. This is all sitting and looking, But I said, essentially my journey is actually go within. Go within. And I said, I want to just go. And there's always a fascination for going to a place which is conducive for this inner journey in meditation. Although I know that it's not necessary. You should be able to. And people always used to tell
Yeah.
me, oh, you have these notions and why do you think about these things? I said, look, if you want to read a book, will you find a quiet corner or will you go to the vegetable market? You will find a quiet corner, right?
Yeah.
So there is a place, there is something that
Of
it can add.
course.
And then I said, let's go to the Himalayas. And I didn't know
Oh.
anything. And I said, I'm not going to like start a journey and land in Himalayas. So it actually became, I was 20 something, and it actually became like a solo pilgrimage of sorts.
Oh,
So
wow.
I sat with the map and I just saw how the path would be. And I said, I designed my journey in a way that every night I would sleep in a vehicle, either in a train or bus, and land in a new place every morning.
How amazing.
So this is how I said, so I don't have to
And
even stay anywhere.
adventurous.
And I remember going, and it was all one-way journey. I never knew when will I be back or if I will be back. I had sorted everything with my backpack. So naturally
Perfect.
from Pune, when it started, it was Bombay and then Gujarat. From Gujarat, it was Rajasthan. From Rajasthan, it was Delhi. From Delhi, it was Haridwar. Then it was Rishikesh. Then it was Dehradun. Slowly getting into the closer to the mountains. And finally, many, many interesting things to share about this journey. Some out of this world experiences and how strangers came and helped, and some very bad experiences of having given a absolutely rubbish place to stay because they didn't believe in who I am or what am I here for, and gave me a room for 35 rupees, which was the worst room I would have stayed in. And anyway, those experiences and not having a place. So anyway, landed in Himalaya and found a place which I think was perhaps one of the beautiful, because before the river becomes Ganga, it's known by different names, and different rivers come, and then it becomes the what we call Ganges, or the Mother Ganga. I found a place on the banks of Bhagirathi River. Now Bhagirathi is when the Ganga starts from the Gangotri, and then it's still gushing. It has that
Yeah.
force.
Yeah.
The water is absolutely muddy because with that force it is crushing the rocks. And so this place, I had to take some vehicles and reach there, and then at some point you leave it in the town and then you cross the river on a hanging bridge. You can only walk, no vehicle can reach. And then there was this beautiful, quiet, kind of a retreat place with only couple of cottages. There's a small kitchen, there's a room, and there's a small cottage. There's no library, there's no book, there's no system, there's nothing. I think it was ideal for me. I just stumbled upon it and I reached there. And a cook and a caretaker was a person who lived in mountains, who just came in the day, cooked something for you and went away. So I was alone. There's a river, gushing water, and a quiet thing. And your experience in Himalayas, your notion of mountain changes, because you don't look at mountains at this angle. You look at mountains at this
Yeah.
angle. You're like this sheer tallness of mountains. I still remember hearing these birds, Himalayan birds, and the trees are different because of the snow, their shapes are different. And being quiet there and absolutely having no hook or nothing to hold on to, but your journey inside. And it can be quite an intense,
Cathartic.
more beyond cathartic. I think cathartic, you still have a notion of self, and there is a catharsis and emotion. But if your meditation becomes deeper, your very basis of your identity and existence can start shaking.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to put it in words. I don't usually talk much about it, but I can say that it is like tectonic shifts in your
Yeah.
existence. But it's all easily said when we are out of it and you're talking. But when you're there, it's like being in a volcano. I don't want to scare people, because meditation can be beautiful. It can be divine, it can be peaceful, there could be showers of bliss, and it can also be completely different. It's again, as I said, whatever I say, it will just look like words, but when I was there, no words could help. and nothing could help, and it was very, very intense. And I've had such few intense experiences. When you go really deep, basically when things become silence, your inner noise can become very loud. And I have had my own experiences and journey, and every time something that intense happened, and also got some messages which brought me back to society. So yeah, to say the least. But yes, there is a we know that for centuries many yogis and perhaps they say siddhas and have lived in these
Yeah,
mountains
yeah.
and meditated in these mountains.
Solitude.
Yeah, I don't think any place is a passport to anything. Ultimately, wherever you go, your mind follows you. You could be in the most blissful place and you carry your mind with
Yeah.
you. And I always often say this, that we don't live in society, but society lives in us.
Wow.
So wherever you go, that society you're carrying with you. But nevertheless, yeah, if I have to say that were there some experiences which become like pivotal, and yeah,
It was the stay.
perhaps, yeah.
So during your stay also, is there anything mystical, which just completely psyched you, very unexpected, unheard of, from any books or masters, which was just yours?
There have been many such
Yeah, I'm
experiences,
sure.
but I really refrain from talking about it, and
It-
I do feel that we perhaps one should not go on that path also about talking and describe. I feel very strongly about it. Because
I
I'll tell you what, in the world today where everything is seen as a badge or an achievement or something, and people like to make things, so I think I think one needs to be on one's journey. But to say the least, of course, when you start going inside, when you start, you will see many things that eyes don't see. You will
Yeah.
feel many things, and anybody who has this inner life knows this. So much so that my first research was about parapsychology. I was so
Oh.
inspired by some of these experiences, which were there right from beginning, and that my very first research in psychology was in parapsychology about extrasensory perception. I did some experiments, and yeah, it is. More you go inner, everyone knows that your heightened awareness about multiple things, and even scientifically, people recognize that. Your brain, there are different areas in your brain that starts firing. Yeah.
Is it something to do with the pineal gland awakening that we all
We
now?
have so many models which explain this. There's a chakra, and there's a third eye, and there is a thing. More scientifically speaking, there are different parts of brain, right, which are more evolved or less evolved,
Yeah.
or which are like a part of our brain is called animal brain, which is still in touch with something very deep. So right now there are a number of things that we are hearing, but we are not conscious about it. There's something called as unconscious perception. Many times we perceive things even within our sensory world, and we act upon it, but our conscious has not taken a note of it. So meditative practices or meditation can absolutely bring a lot of this unconscious to conscious. So it is basically just expansion of your awareness, which can then include a lot of things which otherwise we are not aware of. Is just being able to see more and hear more and feel more. Yeah.
So things completely changed after that
I
once you were back.
It's often a
Like, did you
journey.
feel you were in complete awareness when you were back?
Yes,
Like
every
a
time,
different.
every time I've come away from very deep spiritual. There have been few times when I have had this complete renunciation and going with
Yeah.
absolutely no plan of returning or no idea about return, and then something intensifies. And a few times, almost every time, has been in mountains. Sometimes in presence of some master, sometimes alone. Every time you come back to the same world, it's not the same.
Yeah.
It is different. Of course, it is different. But this is true, as I said, it's true of everybody. Everybody who has gone through the
Of
life
course.
journey, all small little experiences, interactions, they are shaping us, they are molding us. The only uh, intensity about this going deeply inside is things can become much more intense, your awareness can
Expand. I think
expand a
it's
lot. Yeah.
expansion
But
of
again, anything treated as a project or as a goal can also backfire. There are people who have hallucinations about themselves, and the people, yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
it's the energy which can go imbalanced. So it's very, very, very important not to get caught into any of these ideas and images, and that's the reason I refrain from really talking about these things. But I know these become very interesting, but I think I keep bringing it back that
You can share one.
no, I keep bringing, I think everybody to more or less degree has these experiences. I think if you look at somewhere where you felt connected with somebody, or you saw something that otherwise you would not have known, when you're tuned in. So we all know our inner world is very, very rich. Yeah, just start with your dreams and you'll find that your dreams such a deep, rich inner world. And yeah, I think the invitation for all of us is to go inwards, and that's where the kingdom of heaven, as they say, lies,
And
as
explore.
against the very force of the world today, which is extremely in the external world of senses, with audiovisual bombardment of stimuli, and with the so-called artificial intelligence becoming so much part of our lives, that what happens to the inner intelligence which has grown over millions of years, the brain which has evolved, our DNA which has evolved over millions of years through so much experiences, through so many species. What about that intelligence? Are we getting further away from that?
Yeah.
Because if we are not able to get in touch with that intelligence, it's very evident that artificial intelligence is just going to take over.
Take
but
over,
then,
yeah.
but then, can there be any comparison of what the life form has come to with that? And that's a very big exploration.
And I think the irony is with AI, now we have more time to explore our own self, isn't it?
If we want to, if we
Yeah,
don't get caught,
because
but that would require a fundamental shift in our consciousness. If not, we will be slave to machines and slave to our primitive instincts, and will be swept away by the world of entertainment.
true.
That's what's
We
going to
just
happen.
need to use it wisely.
We need to really watch things in a very, very alert way, and that will guide us. Yeah.
I think we should talk about, living in nature, reviving the ancient ways of.
True. I think something really breaks inside us when we lose touch with the elements of nature. For example, the sky, the mountains, the river. So it is. It's essential. It's part of our existence, part of our being. I think
Yeah.
part of the reason why humans have become so cruel with the trees and nature, because you lost the relationship with it, right? So, and also in the whole world of meditation or understanding yourself, in the inner realization, it becomes very important that we allow ourselves this space. Something changes, being surrounded by all the time with people, with the world
Yeah.
of noise, the world of ambition, the world of chasing, everybody trying to reach somewhere, and then to come where you feel that you are not everything, you're not the center star of the whole world, and just to finding yourself as a small part of this vast expanse does something to the consciousness. So very important to really have this energy, and it's not just psychological. In fact, it is very scientific.
Yeah.
The breeze, the molecules here, the way the magnetic field is, around the trees, the kind of vibration,
Yeah.
energy that every tree, every bird, being in the sun directly. Most of us, especially in India, like people hardly feel the sun
Yeah,
on your skin,
yeah.
and we feed on it. So it's
Despite of having it
all
available,
absolutely.
you know.
So I think it is essential, and I really my vision or my main thought is that
Yeah.
it should not be something that you do on a holiday, or should not be just something that you have as a part of your life, but something that is part your daily life.
A lifestyle
This is
built.
how we lived for millions of
Yeah,
years. That we
yeah.
lived in nature. There was nothing like this
Yeah.
overcrowded urban population. So I think it's time.
To revive.
It's time to really do the
Yeah.
course correction and claim this space that we have for us. Yeah, and not be so overcrowded with everything.
So what's your idea of living?
I think anybody who wants to live a conscious life is going to choose to be in nature, is going to choose to have the clean air,
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. It's going to be very crucial for that. And we need to design a life which honors. Life should not be human centric. There is everything.
Nature centric.
We are part of nature,
Yeah.
right? So we need to have this where we feel connected with. I think children who grow up feeling connected with water, with the land, with the trees, with the animals, will grow up taking care of it. Will
True.
grow up honoring it. Yeah. So I think this is my vision, that there is going to be a whole force where people feel, okay, yes, I need to be in the rat race, I need to be in the city with the advancement of technology and achieving more and controlling more resources and all those things. But at the same time, there will be people who are more conscious of what life is, what life can be, what is the meaning of life, and that will happen in partnership with nature. So
Yeah.
it's very important. It's very important that we design our lives which are in harmony with nature. And how can it be in harmony with nature if we don't have exposure to it, if we don't have care for it, if we don't let it cultivate us, and if we don't cultivate it? So it's a journey
Completely
together. Yeah,
agree to that. I think we're also trying to build something similar here,
absolutely.
where we all can have sustainable lifestyles. Again, like you said, be connected with all the 5 elements:
Absolutely.
air, water, earth.
The future of humanity. Some people are saying that it will be designed by the machines, the way things are going,
Yeah.
and that will follow its own path. But that is future of machines. Yeah,
Not humans.
and it's very bright. It's looking bright. They're getting better, but the future of real human beings who really want to know what it means to be human, because now that question has come to the forefront. Because if you define yourself by certain skill, a machine is going to do a much better job than you.
Yeah, I think we have.
Or if you
been
say you can
challenged.
act, or you can be so-called creative, a machine is going to do that job much better than you. So what it means to be a human, and that question, people who want to wake up to that question and people who want to find answers to that will essentially happen in harmony with nature. It cannot happen disconnected from your room, just sitting in front of the screen. That is not where it is going to happen. So we need to preserve, we need to take care of it, and we need to let the nature take care of us. I believe that humans who are in harmony in this way, who are loved by nature, will love the nature back.
Yes.
And will not destroy our species or our planet, and will find an intelligent way of coexisting, co-living with all the species, with all that nature has created, and not live a life which is, we almost see that in absence of that, what life has become is absolutely hazardous, poisonous, non-sustainable.
Yeah, and I think all the mental health issues we
it's
face
connected.
today.
It's
the
absolutely
disconnection,
connected. It's
right?
absolutely connected with that, with the fuels and with the electricity and the kind of consumption. Don't even want to start talking about it. What we are doing with that aspect of our life, and we can't remain unaffected by that. So again, once again, to be here, and this is meditation. If we are able to be here and just watch the river flow, I think there is no other deeper meditation than being able to just be and witness. Because at one level you will realize that every single tree is in meditation.
Yeah.
These mountains are in meditation, and the sun is in meditation, and the stars which will come in some time. Everything,
Yes.
and we are part of this universe. We are part of this existence. So how can we deny that to ourselves? We can never be whole or complete without embracing our existence in this way.
True. I think, it's very simple. Like you said, just reconnecting back
Absolutely.
with the inner nature and the
Absolutely.
outer nature, because it's the same.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Any fragmentation will reflect in within us and outside us. So how can we create this whole, and we see that with the trees and the birds. You see a natural harmony, right? Just some time back we saw this beautiful flock of birds, and you can feel that harmony that is there with the nature. You don't take more than necessary, and you give it back. You see that harmony with the trees, with the mountains, and that's the reason for millions of years they have been able to survive.
And it also shapes your own personality.
Absolutely.
Because you're seeing it around you.
Absolutely.
We don't need to consciously.
So the invitation to the new mind, to the young minds, is also that let's not get carried away by what is happening around us too much.
The concrete jungle.
And in the world of entertainment and of the stimuli, can we create something which is much richer, and it will pay you. It will pay you much more than any other job that you can do.
Totally. Amen to that. And
Absolutely.
let's co-create a beautiful world together is what I would say.
In our own possible
Yes.
ways. Wherever we are, let's start creating it. I think this movement will take shape, will take very good shape. It's happening already.
Yes.
And it needs to happen all across the
more
world.
collectively.
Absolutely. And I do know that not everybody is ready to sign up for that. If some people are yet carried away by some other forces, so be it. But at least even a handful of people on this planet, if we wake up to this and if we commit to this and if we see the value in it, that is enough to create some hope.
Yeah.
Some
And set
hope.
examples or prototypes which people can then
Absolutely.
join in.
Absolutely.
Wow. Lovely.